In the Middle Ages, many people believed that for every land animal, there was an equivalent animal in the seas. Because of its distinctive horn, the narwhal was thought to be the unicorn of the sea. The unicorn's horn was said to be imbued with magical properties, cures for everything from nightmares to the plague. Monarchs prize narwhal horns. The one owned by Elizabeth I of England was reputed to be worth £100,000, a sizable sum to pay for a myth. Most peoples of the far north regard the polar bear as their mythical ancestor. In Iceland, Finland and Siberia, polar bear cults have existed from earliest times. The Ket people, a tribe in Siberia, call the polar bear Jip, or grandfather. At more than 9 feet tall and weighing as much as 1,600 pounds, it's no wonder this great flesh-eating bear has been so feared and revered. The Inuit believe the bear and man were kin, and the bear, like man, has a soul. After a successful hunt, ceremonies were held to atone for the death of the bear and appease the bear's immortal soul. The hunter spoke to the spirit of the bear. With the coming of next spring you will rise again and roam the hills. Pardon us now, and forget that we have killed you.
We gaan eerst fysiek tot het uiterste in Explorer's Journal om 9 uur. En dan is het tijd om je grenzen van binnen te verleggen.
Man, the fear really starts to build.
We haven't much time left.
Verhalen over moed.
Dreams I want to see the impossible ones.
Doorzetten.
I want to climb that mountain.
En obsessie. Fascinerende verhalen vanuit de hele wereld van de beste filmmakers die er bestaan. Spotlight, vanavond om 10 uur op National Geographic Channel.
Die komt er wel.
Tweederde van het aardoppervlak is bedekt met water. We spelen erin, bevissen de oceanen en surfen op de golven. Maar de zee kan een genadeloze moordenaar zijn, die land verzwelgt en levens tot zich neemt. Luister naar de verhalen van de overlevenden en de reddingsbrigade in de nieuwe serie Savage Seas. Vervolgt zaterdag om 10 uur.
When the water vapor in clouds freezes, it falls to earth as snow. According to a legend of the Far East, snow was created in a far more remarkable manner.
There was a time when heaven took pity on mankind because there was often very little to eat on earth. So the gods rained down white flour that the people gratefully collected and made into cakes to eat. But as time passed, many people became greedy, and they fought over the flour, hoarding this gift of the gods, even stealing it from their neighbors. The gods became angry and turned the flour into snow, a very unsatisfying feast. And there has been no more flour sent to earth from the heavens to this day.
The awesome power of winter is challenged each year by the light of a more gentle reality. The coming of spring has always been viewed as a time of wonder. A time when the ice melts, when the streams begin to trickle and rivers to flow into the sea. Nearly all of Earth's great civilizations were nourished by the flow of rivers. The annual flooding of the Nile was seen as a sacred gift by the early Egyptians, an event caused by the tears of Isis, the principal goddess of ancient Egypt, mourning the death of her husband, Osiris. For many cultures around the world, the river has been a symbol for the journey to the afterlife. In Greek mythology, a boatman carried the souls of the dead across the river Styx into the lower world. The Maya believed they had to make a long and hazardous journey across a broad river of raging water to reach the abode of the dead. In ancient Egypt, the hippopotamus goddess, Tauret, was worshipped by some and feared by others. She not only protects women in childbirth, but also the dead on their journey to the afterlife. The great river hippo spends most of its time in the water. The hippo can see, hear, and breathe with most of its head underwater. It can stay entirely beneath the surface for about 5 minutes. Aggressive and easily provoked, the hippo kills more people in Africa than any other animal. There are other dangers in the rivers that are both mythical and very real. Like hippos, alligators and crocodiles are man-killers. With their sharp teeth and powerful bodies, they can easily tear large animals to pieces. Sobek, the repulsive Egyptian god inspired by the crocodile, was worshipped out of fear. In legend, he was involved in the murder of Osiris and was in league with the powers of darkness. The Aboriginal people of Australia have been neighbours to the crocodile for thousands of years. In their dance, a form of mime, they become the body and the spirit of the creatures with which they live.
Aboriginal dancing is important. It's one way of passing down traditions in an art form and in dance form. For example, if you're going to do a dance of animals, you may portray a crocodile lying on the sand. So you would send out your hunters to surround this animal. So you move in and kill the crocodile. Once that crocodile is speared, he comes to life again as a dancer. So he comes back and he joins in the dance, and you do a dance called shake a leg, which is the movements of moving the legs in and out, and you're also doing the movements of the waves, which ties back into the ocean again.
The Aboriginal myth explaining the creation of the crocodile is also a warning about getting too close to a dangerous reptile.
Long ago, there was a man named Jerukapai who was favored by the spirit people. Because of his power, men feared him, and women looked upon him with admiration. When their husbands were away on hunting trips, Jerukapai came to them in the night, and the wives of the hunters did not resist him. When the hunters learned that Jerukapai was with their wives, they hunted him down. Their spears sang through the air, striking Jerukapai, and he ran screaming into the river. They looked everywhere for Jerukapai's body, but he had disappeared. All they found was a strange creature with a long snout lying in the sun. On its back were the scars of spear wounds. Yes, they agreed, this was Jerukapai. He had turned into a crocodile. To this day, Jerukapai lives in the river, his long jaw ready to seek revenge on the men who hunted him. He searches for their wives as well, for he has not lost his longing for women.
Half a world away from the dreamlands of the Aborigines are the mysterious reaches of the Amazon. The Amazon basin harbors the greatest variety of life forms in the world, with an estimated 3,000 species of fish alone. Here, in the flooded forest, dwells the botu, or Amazon porpoise. It glides among the trees through the murky water, guided by its sonar. The botu is intelligent, curious, and unafraid of man. The people of the Amazon believe the botu will help drowning people to shore, and they believe to kill a porpoise brings bad luck. There is also a legend that at night the botu transforms itself into a handsome man and comes into the village to seduce young women. Each year, as they have for thousands of years, salmon move from the seas into the rivers to spawn. It is a miraculous and mysterious odyssey. After living in the sea for as long as 4 years, the salmon travel thousands of miles to find their way back to the precise stream where they were born. How can they know the exact spot where they were hatched? Many scientists believe salmon navigate in the sea by using the magnetic fields of the earth and the currents of the ocean. Then, when they reach the mouth of the river, they find their home stream by following a remembered scent or taste in the water. In the stories told by the native people of America's northwest coast, the salmon were seen as forgiving and benevolent, returning each year to give themselves away. But it was also important not to take the river's abundance for granted or offend the salmon in any way. If the salmon run was lower than usual, the people looked to their own behavior as a possible cause.
There was once a boy who was eating a piece of dried salmon when he noticed it was spotted with mold. Instead of scraping away the mold, which would have made it perfectly fine to eat, the boy threw away the salmon in disgust. The next day, while fishing, he was pulled into the water. As he descended into the ocean, he found himself in the world of the salmon people. They called him Half Moldy Boy, and they taught him their ways, their songs, and their prayers. He traveled with them up the rivers and over waterfalls. As he leapt one waterfall, he was caught in a net, and to his surprise, Half Moldy Boy found he'd been caught by his own people. He was called Salmon Boy after that, and he grew up to teach the people respect for the salmon.
On the other side of the earth, the Zambezi River flows more than 1,600 miles from the African interior to the Indian Ocean. To the Tonga people, this is the domain of Yamin Yami, the river god. In their folklore, the Zambezi is described as a giant snake with the head of a crocodile coiled to strike. For much of its length, the Zambezi is broad, flowing languidly through the forest. Then, suddenly, the river plunges into a void of mist and thunder. In the local Kololo dialect, the falls are called Moseya Tunya, or smoke that thunders. Dr. David Livingstone, the British missionary explorer, named them for his queen, Victoria Falls. The Guarani people of Brazil call the Iguaçu Falls the place where the clouds are born. They have lived in the rainforest since time immemorial, and their legends tell of the waterfall's origin.
Do branco, a veces no hubiera do branco.
Long ago, there were two young people who were deeply in love. The girl's name was Naipur. Her lover was a warrior named Karoba. One day, the god who lives in the forest threatened to carry the girl away to his temple, where she would be his slave. Karoba and Naipur fled in a canoe out into the fast-moving Iguazu River. The god became angry, and he placed a series of cataracts in their path, and the lovers' boat plummeted over the falls. Naipur was transformed into a rock at the bottom of the abyss, hidden forever by a cloud of mist. Karoba was turned into a tree, forever to gaze down on the falls, hoping for a glimpse of Naipur's veiled beauty.
Beyond the waterfalls of the world, there are quiet pools, lakes, ponds, springs, environments teeming with the life forms that inspire the creation of myth. Here are the animals that figure so powerfully in fables: the beaver and the turtle. The duck and the frog. In the stillness of the pond, there are mysterious processes unfolding, marvelous patterns and rhythms seen by both science and the imagination. Myths are often based on observations of nature, warnings of danger, or lessons containing useful truth. Some imagined water spirits are portrayed as dangerous, like the beautiful nymph who lures men to dance before she drinks their blood. Others eat children and drown travelers, dragging them down to watery graves. But they represent the very real dangers of living near bodies of water: poisonous snakes, impure water, quicksand, the peril of slipping into the depths and drowning. The water spirits, whether monstrous or benign, are guardians of human safety. Like scientific knowledge, they teach people how to live safely in a dangerous world. Of all the creatures of the lake, None have inspired such a voluminous body of myth as has the swan. There is an ancient myth that the swan will break into a beautiful song just before it dies. This is where the expression swan song originates, referring to the last work of an artist or performer. But this is only a myth. As a swan dies, some air may pass through the greatly elongated trachea, sending forth a last sigh or melancholy note, but the swan doesn't sing. Swans have been accorded a special place in folklore, literature, music, and the arts. Perhaps the most popular of all classical ballets, Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake was inspired by the grace and beauty of the swan. Many cultures believe that swans are shapeshifters and can turn themselves into beautiful women by removing their plumage. The Aborigines of Australia tell a story of people who were turned into black swans for offending a horrible water dragon. Black swans are native only to Australia. In Native American tradition, the swan represents trust and surrender to the will of the Great Spirit. The largest of swans is the trumpeter, with a wingspan of 8 feet. Once common in North America, wild trumpeter families. In the 19th century, the trumpeter was slaughtered for its plumage and skins, feathers, and skins to make powder puffs. In more recent years, the trumpeter has been the victim of an unlikely poison. Scientists examining dead swans found that the trumpeters were slowly poisoned by consuming lead shot left on the bottom of streams by hunters. Although the trumpeter has made a remarkable comeback, its survival depends on continued conservation efforts. By preserving the natural habitats of these majestic birds, we can ensure that the song we hear is not the swan song of a species. The old stories move through time to speak to us of our own time. Myth connects us to the miracles of the natural world and to a realm of magic and mystery many of us abandoned long ago. The mythology of a people is a means of making sense of what seems a wildly chaotic natural world. It is a way of explaining the secrets hidden in the deep, by the rolling river, by the mist beneath the falls, by the mirror surface of quiet pools. It is a celebration of the long and intimate relationship between man and the beasts of the blue.
We sing of demons and dragons, of unicorns and sirens, We sing to soothe the great beasts that live beneath the sea. We sing of the salty mystery.
Blijf kijken, want Explorers Journal volgt straks 2 fotografen bij hun zeer uiteenlopende missies. De een in het regenwoud, de ander in Zuidwest-Engeland. Zometeen na de onderbreking in Deep Focus.
We sail to reach the vast unknown that takes us from hearth and home, and pray for our safe return, our fortunes made. We sing of what we learned, of the dangers of the deep, and from the spirits of the blue.